Hello, and welcome to the first playthrough on the channel, everybody. So, I've picked Baldur's Gate 3 as the game to play on here for a couple of reasons. It's a game that I'm not overly familiar with. I do know that it's based in the Sword Coast and Forgotten Realms setting, which is the official setting for D&D. And I'm very familiar with the actual D&D rule set for 5th edition, so I'm kind of hoping my knowledge in that will kind of make up for my lack of actual game knowledge, at least a little bit. I'm sure it's not going to be that big of an issue, but um, another reason I picked this is because I did play it a little bit back whenever patch 3 came out, but with patch 9 out now, and hopefully we'll be getting the full release soon, I just kind of want to go in and, play through a little bit and see what they've added. I know they've added new classes, and I've been kind of thinking about what I kind of want to do for this. But what I'll do is go ahead and get this intro sequence started on here. I know there's a little cutscene that'll play through. And it'll just kind of introduce the most recent backstory to our character and kind of how we've ended up in a very bad situation for ourselves and anyone else involved. Definitely not where you want to be. So I'll go ahead and get that started, and then I'll go into some detail on how I kind of want to build our character on here. This kind of first episode is going to be basically a character creation episode going into what I plan to do for our character on here and kind of how I want to roleplay them and what I kind of want to build around. So I'll go ahead and get this started, and then we can kind of discuss that a bit. So, Mind Flare, Tadpole in the Eye, and stuck with some other unfortunate souls, it looks like. So, I've been thinking quite a lot about how I want to build our character on here for the first playthrough. And I had a couple of different ideas. So, there's a few things I do want to eventually try, but I think for this first playthrough, what I'm going to do is kind of play the quote-unquote good guy. The kind of playthrough probably everyone at least will attempt to do. We'll try to, be good. We'll try to help people where we can. Probably not completely to the detriment of ourselves, but at least prevent people from killing each other and, being horrible to one another, which a lot of people are in this, from what I remember playing. And so I kind of want to play a character who will be the kind of party face of our party. They will be the one leading the group and doing a lot of the talking to people, doing a lot of the persuasion checks to convince people to stop being selfish idiots and, you know, not to kill us or anyone else. And so I kind of want to play a character based around the charisma skill, and there are a few different options for that. So we have bards, who are kind of buffs. They buff a lot of people. They throw out debuffs. They're kind of a jack of all trades. There are paladins, who are frontline warriors who have divine energy they smite enemies with, and they are, you know, your typical holy knights, generally. There are sorcerers, who are your evocator-style blasting mages. They throw out a lot of damaging spells. They like to throw out, you know, a lot of damage all over the place. They are pretty good because they can throw out multiple spells in like a single turn. And then there's warlocks, who are bound, as it says like here, bound to a pact with an all-powerful patron. They get their power from some other entity, and they use charisma for their spellcasting modifier, as do sorcerers and bards. And paladins too, but they don't really focus on spells too much. So, with those classes in mind, I want to consider what we're going to have in our party as well. There are specific NPCs that you get later on that are each a specific class. Two of them have a specific subclass. And I kind of want to build our party with that in mind, of who we want with us. And there are actually only 2 people that you get that are good people. They are, you know, a warlock and a wizard that you get access to, and they're the good guys of the group generally. And I kind of want to have them with us, so we're not just, you know, pissing everyone off, because no one else is going to like the fact that we're being good with people and helping them out. So with that in mind, I'm going to take warlock off the list because I don't want to double up on playstyles or classes with who we at least have in the party. And I'm going to take the sorcerer off as well, because the wizard gets access to almost the exact same spells as the sorcerer does, and you can build them very similarly. The only difference is the sorcerer, they get access to meta magic, which lets them do all sorts of additional stuff, but the wizard that we'll be getting access to, I kind of want to use them. So that leaves us with the paladin and the bard. Now, I have thought about this quite a lot, and I think I'm going to go with the bard. While in 5th edition, I kind of have a bias against bards that, you know, they're not that great, they don't do a whole lot of damage. That's not really their gimmick. They're supposed to be the supporting character. They're supposed to be the supporting role in the party. And I kind of want to build around that. They get access to a lot of skill checks. Even if they're not proficient in skills later on, they get bonuses to them. It's really nice. And if my character is going to be the one leading the party, I kind of want to have access to that. Some additional skills, because if I'm leading, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of the skill checks as well, even if someone in our party is better at it. So, with that in mind, we'll be building a bard. I love paladins. I absolutely love the paladins in 5th edition. It's just a thing of I really want to do bards, and I have a plan for a paladin in the future that I want to try out. And I don't want to do one now and then do that one then, because that one is definitely not going to be part of the good guys. I will go ahead and fill out some stuff on here, and then we can go over exactly what I'm picking and what the bard class entails. Alright, so I went ahead and picked a few things on here. I picked our spells that we'll be taking. So we get access to 2 cantrips, which are spells that we can cast without really expending any resources. And I went with Vicious Mockery, which is the only damaging cantrip that bards get access to. But you don't really use it for the damage. You use it because it gives whoever you use it on disadvantage on their next attack. So we can kind of use it to protect our allies, or if they're running up on us, to try and protect ourselves at least. And then I'm going with Light just because no one else, I think, in our party that I plan on building is going to have dark vision. And so they're going to be blind a lot of the time, and I hope that with this spell they will be able to, avoid being completely blind during fights that are like in caves or whatever. So I'll be taking Light as well. For our actual spells, I took Dissonant Whispers, which allows us to try and frighten a creature by dealing some psychic damage to it if they fail a wisdom save. I took Healing Word, which is a kind of ranged healing spell. It doesn't heal a lot, but it'll let us pick up any of our downed allies. Then Sleep, which can take out, because this is early access, not a whole lot of the enemies I remember having a lot of hit points, and this should let us basically make a lot of the creatures go to sleep and end combat very quickly. Or at least move up on them and kind of knock them out afterwards. And then the last spell I was struggling with, because there are some pretty good ones on here that I like. I like Speak with Animals, but I remember there being potions that you can get instead that let you do this. So I went Fairy Fire for now. We can change out our spells when we level up, but I went Fairy Fire for now. That'll let us give advantage on attack rolls against a lot of enemies in a range. So yeah, that's what our spells are looking like. We do have access to a musical instrument as well as a bard, and this just kind of changes how the sound of our music is, and like when we play music during our spell casting as well, it'll change how that sounds. So I went with the lute, the kind of typical, like it says, many a bard's first instrument, the kind of typical bard instrument on here. I wish we had more bards in the party, because I remember seeing something where if you have a bunch of bards, you can be playing music all together, and I kind of want to do that now, and make a whole party of bards so we can have like a roving band. I think that would be kind of funny. So as a bard, we get access to this just in general. We will start with some first level spell slots. We get proficiency in dexterity and charisma saves, which means that we will add our proficiency bonus, which I don't think goes above 2 in early access. So we'll just add some bonuses to our dexterity and charisma saves. We get access to light armor, simple weapons, and then a few different specific ones, and then musical instrument proficiency as well. But the main bard ability on here is the Bardic Inspiration ability. And what this lets us do is add a d6 to someone's next attack roll, ability check, or saving throws, it says. And this is really good where you can just kind of add a d6 to someone's roll. It's a limited number of times a day, but that kind of buffing ability, no other class really has access to that. Everyone can do damage, not everyone can buff. And the bard is especially good at doing it. So the next thing on the list is our race. Now, I thought about this quite a bit, and I think the best races to choose for a bard are between the half-elf, which there are different versions, the tiefling, again, with its own separate versions of it, and the drow. And the reason that this is because they all get bonuses to charisma. Tieflings get +2, drow get +1, but they get +2 to dexterity, which is a main stat for us anyways. And then half-elves get +2 to charisma, and then +1 to 2 separate stats, which is really, really good. And I would probably, if I was playing, like, most optimized character, I would go with half-elf. I would probably go with half Drow for the racial spells that they get, or half Wood Elf for the increased movement speed. Having the extra cantrip is nice on here with the half High Elf, but it goes based off your intelligence. So I would probably pick something that's not an attack roll, something like Light or Friends, something like that. But I think because I remember there being a lot of interesting things. If you are a certain race, you get access to different options and dialogue trees. And I remember the Drow having a lot of them. I think my first character I played through was a Drow cleric. And so I think I want to go with the Drow. I really like the Drow and their whole lore and everything. It's one of my favorite races in D&D. But they have the downside of having sunlight sensitivity in 5th edition, which thankfully they do not have here. Otherwise, they would just be completely unplayable. But luckily, they don't have that. As a Drow, we get +2 to Dex and +1 to Charisma, like I said. We do get some proficiencies, which are kind of wasted on us. But we do get superior dark vision, and lets us see further in the dark. And then we get Fey Ancestry, which lets us be immune to being put to sleep. And we have advantage against being charmed, which is really nice. We also get proficiency in perception as well. So, what I'm probably going to do is just go ahead and do the origin of our character next. So my idea is that our character is going to be a noble from the Underdark who has kind of had enough of the political games down there. They have their skills of it in persuasion and knowing the history of stuff, but I do like the idea that they've like come up to the surface from the Underdark, and now they kind of want to explore, find problems, and try and fix them for people. Because Drow typically are depicted as the bad guys, I'm not exactly sure how they're completely depicted in this game, but generally speaking, they are kind of depicted as the bad guys. They are typically evil, and so having one as a good guy for once, having someone as a good character, is kind of interesting, I think, and should lead to some very unexpected reactions, I guess, from any Drow that we end up meeting, that are going to expect us to follow in how they kind of do stuff. And I do need to change their name. So we'll have Skel the Bard. Next, for our skills, we do get persuasion and history from our background as a noble, and then we get perception from being a Drow. As far as our other skills go, I do want to stick with performance, stealth, and let's go with investigation. Or rather, how about instead of stealth, we go with insight? Just so we have a bit of a bonus in trying to read people. I think that fits a bit better for someone who was in the game of politics and no longer is. Now, as far as our abilities go, the only thing I want to change on this is getting the +2 to wisdom instead of intelligence. I think everything else on here is fine. I would like to have a 14 con, but we could. But I think that this will work out better, just to have some bonuses to our skills. Because we are going to be the kind of jack of all trades skill monkey for the group. But anyways, next I do want to go through the character appearance. I probably won't be changing much, just a few different things, because I do like how they look. Alright, and I think with that, this is how our character is going to be looking. Like I said, I'm not going to change too much. I do like how the Drow look already. I think Drow look pretty cool. But with that, I think we can go ahead and venture forth and see what lies ahead of our character in the next episode. And I do want to thank you all for watching, and have a good one.